Here's something that might surprise you, Andrew. Only one U.S. president has ever gone on to serve in Congress after leaving the White House, and his post presidential career ended up being more influential than his time as commander in chief.
That's such a fascinating detail about John Quincy Adams, Pappy. Most people would consider the presidency the peak of their career, but for him, it was almost like a middle chapter.
What makes his story even more remarkable is how it began. At just 14 years old, he was already working as a diplomatic secretary in Russia. While most teenagers were, being teenagers, he was helping shape early American foreign policy.
The expectations placed on him must have been enormous, given that he was the son of John Adams. How did that influence his career path?
It's interesting that you ask because his father's influence definitely opened doors, but his diplomatic achievements were entirely his own. By age 36, he had served as minister to four major European powers and negotiated the Treaty of Ghent, which ended the War of 1812.
And then there's that fascinating election of 1824, the corrupt bargain, as they called it. The whole situation seems almost unimaginable today.
Oh man, it was wild. You had four candidates splitting the electoral votes, none of whom got a majority. Then the House of Representatives essentially chose Adams over Andrew Jackson, who had actually won the popular vote. It's like, imagine if that happened in modern politics.
The political fallout must have been intense. How did that affect his ability to govern?
It essentially poisoned his entire presidency. Here he was proposing these incredibly forward thinking ideas: a national university, government funded scientific research, and a network of roads and canals. But Congress blocked almost everything. You know what's fascinating, though? These were the exact kinds of programs that would become standard government initiatives by the early 20th century.
So he was essentially a century ahead of his time with some of these ideas.
Exactly. And here's where his story takes this unexpected turn. Instead of retiring after his presidency, he ran for the House of Representatives. Like, imagine a former president today saying, you know what? I think I'll run for Congress.
That decision really seems to have freed him in a way. He became this fierce advocate against slavery, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. He fought tirelessly against the gag rule that prevented slavery discussions in Congress. And get this, in 1841, at age 73, he argued the Amistad case before the Supreme Court and won. We're talking about a former president defending the rights of enslaved people who had revolted against their captors.
The amount of energy he maintained well into his 70s is remarkable. Didn't he keep an extensive diary throughout his life?
Um, Extensive is an understatement. He wrote in his diary every single day for almost 70 years, starting when he was 12. We're talking about roughly 15,000 pages documenting everything from major historical events to his personal struggles with depression.
That kind of dedication to recording history while making it is pretty incredible.
And you know what's really powerful about his story? His most significant impact came after what many would consider a failed presidency. It's like he had to lose the highest office in the land to find his true calling.
That really challenges our modern notion of success. The idea that your most meaningful work might come after your supposed peak.
Exactly. And his death was just as dramatic as his life, literally collapsing on the House floor during a debate in 1848. His last words were reportedly, "This is the last of earth. I am content." Like, even in death, he was exactly where he felt he needed to be.
So, what do you think is the biggest lesson from his story?
Well, I think it's that sometimes what looks like failure is just a redirect to where you're meant to be. Here's a guy who had this failed presidency, but instead of retreating from public life, he found a new way to fight for what he believed in. And in doing so, he probably had a greater impact on American history than he would have had as a successful president.
That's such a powerful perspective, Pappy, on legacy and public service.
And maybe that's the real takeaway, Andrew, that it's not about the title you hold or even about meeting others' expectations. It's about finding where you can make the most difference and having the courage to pursue that path, even if it's not the one everyone expects you to take.